After the whirlwind of a marriage certificate and a lavish wedding ceremony, all wrapped up in one seamless service, she found herself bundled off to the billionaire CEO's opulent bedroom in his sprawling New York penthouse. The nanny tossed out a stern warning to stay put and not even think about escaping before slamming the door shut, leaving her alone in the dimly lit luxury space with its floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the glittering city skyline. She had somehow transmigrated into this world, dressed in a rumpled gown, and become the villainous side character, sacrificed by her greedy family for a massive dowry to this possessive husband. He was a mafia boss type, drowning in wealth from his global empire, but plagued by a severe eye condition that left him blind. In the original story, his devotion to her turned tragic. She betrayed him, colluding with another man to steal his fortune, leading to her own downfall in a web of revenge and jealousy. She had no intention of getting tangled in that enemies-to-lovers mess or the forced marriage drama. Escape was her plan, one leg already slung over the windowsill of the penthouse suite, when the door creaked open. A tall, imposing figure stepped in, his presence commanding the room like an obsessive alpha male. His face was so strikingly handsome it could make anyone dizzy with a single glance. Sharp jawline, high cheekbones, the works. He scanned the area blindly, finally fixing on a blank wall and asking politely if she was the one he'd been expecting. She dashed over, cupped his face, and planted a bold kiss right on his lips, whispering that formalities were out and he should call her his little wife instead. She seriously wondered how the original character could have been so blind herself, ignoring this grumpy sunshine of a man to chase someone else like a fool. His cheeks flushed a deep red as he tried to push her away, but his hands landed on her waist and froze there, his body backing up in panic until he was practically pinned against the door like a submissive caught off guard. He was still so pure and innocent, which only made her adore him more. As night fell in the luxurious penthouse, she reluctantly let go but offered to guide him to the lavish marble bathroom and help with a bath, her words slipping out with a hint of teasing. He shuddered, his voice trembling as he insisted he could manage alone. He fled into the bathroom so quickly it made her doubt his blindness entirely. Soon, water sounds echoed, and she sneaked to the door, only to find it locked tight. His protective instincts were impressive for someone in his own home. She called out sweetly through the door, offering help if needed, just as the water stopped. A crash followed, something dropping, and her heart raced. She pounded on the door, worried, but he assured her it was just a cup. Still, something felt off, so she rushed in when the door finally opened, tumbling straight into his warm, damp embrace. He caught her instinctively around the waist, but they collided with a cabinet, and he let out a pained grunt. His voice was hoarse with concern, asking if she was okay. Lifting her gaze, she saw his glistening eyes, lips wet and inviting in a tempting shade. She swallowed hard, her mind racing with thoughts of pinning him right there, but reason crumbled. She grabbed his collar, tiptoed, and kissed him fiercely. He hummed in surprise, eyes flashing panic as toiletries scattered across the floor. The noise drew servants pounding on the door, ruining the moment. She stormed over, irritated, but the nanny shoved a phone at her with a message from his mother, urging him to secure an heir quickly to protect the family legacy from any rivals. The family had 2 sons. The other was an illegitimate one, brought back dramatically after his blindness struck. If his eyes didn't improve, the inheritance might shift, sparking more jealousy and revenge plots. Hanging up, he promised her solemnly that he wouldn't touch her, calling himself useless and vowing not to ruin her life. But she wasn't having that. Her possessive side flared at the thought. The next morning, she slipped away from the scene of their passionate encounter, descending the grand staircase to find his mother eyeing her exposed skin with visible disappointment. Until she spotted the marks on him, her eyes widened in shock, jumping up to accuse her of seducing her son. He slipped on the polished floor, nearly falling, but defended her, insisting it was mutual. His mother choked on her words, face darkening, while she laughed delightedly and rewarded him with another kiss. That afternoon, at the family's Italian-style villa with its sprawling gardens and private jet parked nearby, she entered to see a cold-eyed man surrounded by admirers, the rival brother. He glanced at her with clear disdain, recalling how the original her had clung to him desperately. Whispers filled the air, and he smirked playfully, lounging in a chair and extending a leg, suggesting his shoe was dirty. Her blood boiled, remembering the original plot where he humiliated them by making her wipe it, and she complied like a lovesick fool, losing face for both. Trembling with rage, she stomped down hard on his foot instead. He yelped in pain, face twisting. She feigned surprise, saying it was accidental, but that he wouldn't hold a grudge on her first day as family. He gritted his teeth, agreeing, and she twisted the knife by praising his respect for hierarchy, then stomped his other foot for good measure as she turned away. His face turned ashen, standing abruptly, but she played scared, diving into her husband's arms, whining about how frightening his brother was. Uncharacteristically, the man wrapped his arms tight around her waist, his chest solid and powerful. His dark eyes, unfocused yet radiating authority like a dominant mafia boss, turned icy as he scolded his brother for lacking basic family manners, raised outside and ignorant of order. Their father frowned, reprimanding the brother harshly. The rival had never been groomed as heir, and their father despised him. Only the blindness had forced his return. He knew his precarious position, stiffening before apologizing humbly. She nestled in her husband's embrace, grinning wildly. Midway through the lavish family banquet with crystal chandeliers and Cartier-adorned guests, she excused herself to the opulent bathroom. Turning a corner, a hand clamped over her mouth, pinning her against the wall. It was the brother, looking aggrieved, reminding her of some forgotten promise. She played along, confused, as he teased her for pretending amnesia. The original her had agreed to marry the elder for convenience, then help him seize the fortune from inside. He promised to marry her once he claimed the inheritance. What a scheming pair, she thought, but decided to turn it against them. She cooed that her actions were to gain trust, her heart still his. He patted her cheek and left. Exhaling in relief, she looked up to see a shadowy figure. Her husband, half hidden in darkness, his chiseled face etched with heavy shadows, lips pressed thin in chilling fury. He invited her coldly to chat too. Her body trembled, heart in her throat, wondering how much he'd overheard. She approached to soothe him with an embrace, but he turned away with his assistant, leaving her frustrated. She shouted after him, demanding if he even cared about his wife. The assistant froze in shock at her boldness, but he paused, smirking sarcastically that it was good she remembered whose wife she was. That night, staying at the family estate with its yacht docked nearby, she helped him back to their suite. He withdrew his hand subtly, groping to the sofa and declaring he'd sleep there. Second night married, and already banishing her to the bed alone? No way, she wanted her possessive husband close. She sidled up, nuzzling his neck and whining for cuddles. Yesterday's half-hearted resistance was gone. Today he remained stoic, unmoved by her coquettish pleas. Fine, she thought, cuteness bows to sensuality. She showered in the steam-filled bathroom, slipping into a slinky black slip dress. Emerging, she found him dozing on the sofa, breathing softly in exhaustion. Mercy tonight, she decided, tiptoeing over barefoot on the plush carpet and curling into his arms, hugging his waist. In her hazy sleep, she felt him stir, a low, throaty sound escaping him. Morning light filtered through the penthouse windows. She awoke nestled in the soft bed, him gone. The door knocked. It was the brother, his gaze dropping to her neck, darkening silently. She smiled sweetly, asking what he wanted so early. Snapping back, he demanded she steal her husband's presentation files for a project competition tomorrow to ensure his win. She agreed eagerly, but inside schemed otherwise. Washing up, she spotted a fresh hickey on her collarbone, absent last night. That sneaky, all talk of restraint, but his body betrayed him. Men. Later, when he prepared for the bidding in his Maybach limo, she insisted on tagging along, clinging to his waist like glue. He ordered her out, voice stern, but she yanked his collar and kissed him messily until he flushed crimson. The driver shrank in embarrassment. He gripped her nape, pulling her back, growling for self-respect. She teased about the mystery mark on her neck, wondering who the rogue was. He fell silent, letting her snuggle as they drove off. At the company, she met the brother in the restroom, handing over a USB. He stared at her swollen lips, humming thoughtfully before leaving. The meeting began. Her husband presented flawlessly from memory, despite his blindness, every detail etched in his mind. The brother, expecting sabotage, opened his file, only for explicit images to flood the screen. Gasps erupted. Executives flushed in outrage, storming out and calling it absurd. The project landed squarely with her husband. She giggled all the way home in the private jet vibe of their lifestyle. Back at the penthouse, he suddenly pinned her against the wall. She beamed, cupping his face and saying no thanks needed. It was her duty. He smirked mysteriously, mentioning his assistant's description of the file's contents, hinting at her resources and hoping she'd share more. Her cheeks burned. His rare flirtation was irresistible. Soon, the brother messaged angrily about the mix-up. She placated him, blaming her husband's cunning trap. They'd both fallen for it. He bought it, urging another chance. She lay down for a nap, but a call pulled her in. Time to confront her stepsister. In her youth, the original Heir's mother remarried a biased man whose daughter was spoiled rotten, bullying her constantly. The mother always sided against her own child to please him, leaving her oppressed. Eager for cash, they'd married her off for the dowry. Arriving at their modest home, a stark contrast to her luxury lifestyle, she was greeted warmly by the mother, but the sister screeched immediately, ordering chores. The sister mocked her as a sparrow pretending to be a phoenix, married to a blind man. She retorted coolly, scanning the sister disdainfully and noting who truly looked servant-like in figure and face. The sister exploded, lunging, but she tripped her effortlessly. The stepfather emerged, feigning kindness after letting the drama unfold, but she twisted his words, calling the sister a 24-year-old baby. He forced a smile, then begged her to help marry the sister to the brother, claiming mutual affection. Shameless, after dumping her on the defective heir for money. Her mother chimed in about family duty. She laughed bitterly, feeling for the original's pain. They'd never treated her as family. But she played along, demanding $5 million up front to grease wheels in the Shin Empire, worth billions globally. They balked but paid. She kissed the card gleefully outside, spotting the brother. He asked why she was there. She mentioned visiting her sweet sister. His interest flickered. Original plot had the sister luring him home as a kind savior from his past. Seizing the moment, she pulled him away, claiming ideas to undermine her husband. He hesitated. She pinched tears, whining about suspicions. He grabbed her hand, leading her off as the sister watched forlornly. In a cafe, she accidentally spilled coffee, leaning so from afar it looked intimate. Timing it, she dismissed him, waiting. The sister stormed in, accusing her of seduction despite being married. She shrugged. Marriage wasn't permanent. Beauty like hers drew admirers. What a hassle. She sauntered out with her Hermes bag, leaving the sister fuming. Home, she admired her handsome husband anew. Even as a statue, he'd brighten any room. Tripping playfully into his arms for a faceplant cuddle, he pushed her away sternly, tapping the table where photos lay her and the brother in the cafe, looking cozy. He hadn't spied. Eyes were always on her since marriage. He warned no more such incidents reaching him, methodically tearing the photos to shreds. His lips thinned impassively, but bulging veins betrayed rage. She touched his wrist, surprised he was angry. Jealous? He admitted it, for the family's reputation. Relieved, she joked about being sneakier next time. He nearly fainted in frustration. That night, still simmering, he punished her by sleeping apart again. Clever, but fine, the brother called, venting about the sister's immaturity. She'd pushed for engagement, ignoring his unstable position. They fought bitterly. She fanned the flames with sympathetic coos, calling the sister insensitive to his struggles. He slurred drunkenly that she understood him best. She hung up, excited for the unfolding drama, but couldn't sleep. Footsteps paced the hall. He lingered outside like a guard. The nanny exclaimed at the danger of him wandering blind at night. Peeking, she saw him flustered, mumbling excuses. The nanny teased about wanting his wife. No shame in that, and offered to guide him. He panicked, fleeing and smacking into the door with a thud. Stubborn man, she ignored him and slept soundly. Morning brought frantic knocking from his assistant, whom she'd bribed for updates. Groggy, she listened the sister, desperate, tried sabotaging the brothers' business deal to force engagement, smashing their token in rage. Deal lost, relationship shattered. Classic her, low IQ. The assistant urged action. The sister was younger, hustling for her future, even now in the husband's office attempting seduction. Jolted awake, she raced over in her Maybach. Arriving, she passed the sister fleeing red-eyed, not the expected scene. Pushing into the office, she found him rigid at his desk, aura dominating like an alpha male. Mistaking her for the sister returning, he iced over, warning he'd spare her once for her sibling's sake, but wouldn't tolerate betrayal. His jaw set firm, exuding untouchable power, yet his words were a fierce vow of loyalty. Adorable, her man. She shut the door, leaping into his lap. He scowled, trying to pry her off, but froze at her call of husband. Burying her face in his chest, she confessed liking him a tad more today. His arms encircled her naturally, voice husky as he asked for just a tad. Men couldn't be too greedy, she teased. He chuckled, fingers weaving through her hair indulgently, agreeing to her whims. The husband from his lips melted her. Blushing as she changed topics, what was the sister doing here? His face darkened. She'd impersonated her to seduce him, but poorly. He saw through it instantly. Curious how, she asked. His cool fingers traced her jaw, lifting her chin. She wouldn't be so gentle. Shadows fell as he leaned in, lips meeting in a heated tangle, breaths mingling, her mind blanking except for the thrill he'd initiated. From then on, he transformed from aloof billionaire CEO to clingy obsessive, openly demanding hugs and kisses in their luxury lifestyle. They dove into shamelessly intimate days, hints of torn clothes and passionate grapples, wall pins in the red room of their penthouse, steamy bathroom plays with water cascading, even car vibrations in the Maybach during jealousy-fueled rides, or subtle bindings with red ropes and belts as punishments in their dominant-submissive dynamic. So indulgent, she worried he'd neglect work amid the age gap romance, coaxing him to the office while the brother lurked, plotting revenge. But he never saw the brother as a threat, living freely. Finally, the day to name the heir arrived. A potential battle in the marriage of convenience turned true love. Tense, she gripped his hand. He patted her head reassuringly. At the grand gathering in the Italian manor, elders assembled. Their father announced retirement, handing everything to him outright. Stunned, she blinked. It was effortless. Where was the brother? Banished to a subsidiary, unqualified with his shallow knowledge. He'd never return. The sister and stepfamily vanished too, likely his doing, blocking their greed now that she held power. On a drive home, she spotted her original mother outside the villa. He nodded knowingly, waiting nearby as she went. The woman tearfully apologized for past sufferings, blaming necessity and her own weakness. But she wasn't the original, couldn't forgive on her behalf. Withdrawing her hand, she said the apology was received. Go home. Turning, she saw him standing patiently, their fingers interlacing under the sunset as they walked shoulder to shoulder into their forever home, his possessive whisper echoing, "She's mine. Every breath she takes belongs to me." "You're mine," he murmured later that night in the red room, his touch a claim that sent shivers through her. "Baby girl, you're my little wife, good girl, mine to ruin." Their life blended high sweet moments of luxury jets to exotic spots, abusive twists of jealousy-fueled arguments ending in pregnant hints for an heir, and steamy implications of touch-her-and-I protectiveness in their dark romance.